The mirror that sees nothing. Imagine a mirror, not a regular mirror, but a perfect one. A mirror that reflects every detail with absolute precision. Not even time distorts it. No dust gathers. No scratches appear. It is eternal, silent, untouched. Now, place another mirror in front of it. You know what happens. The tunnel begins. An infinite corridor of images bouncing back and forth. A recursive echo of light and shape. You see your own reflection vanish into smaller and smaller versions, disappearing into the black hole of symmetry. But let's change something. Let's remove the light. Total darkness. Two perfect mirrors now face each other in a void where light no longer exists. No photon dances between them. No form appears. Nothing is visible. Nothing is there. And now ask yourself, what are they reflecting? If they are perfect, they should still reflect. But there is no light to reflect. There is no image. There is only silence. So, are they reflecting nothing? Or are they still reflecting everything, just beyond your perception? A reflection without light, a tunnel without a beginning or end. You're left with a contradiction, a logical object obeying its rules flawlessly, and yet producing no result. What is a perfect system that produces nothing? What is a perfect truth that cannot be seen? What is a perfect mind that never thinks? The trap begins here. You assumed a mirror reflects what is in front of it, but in darkness, the mirror no longer shows the world. It becomes a mirror of your expectations. It reflects your mind. It reflects your confusion. It reflects your need for an answer. And what if it was never meant to give one? Step closer. Place yourself between the mirrors again. Darkness remains. But in your mind, something stirs. You imagine yourself standing in that corridor of infinite images. You walk into the tunnel of reflections. Each step, you shrink. Your image is duplicated and miniaturized. You see yourself again and again, smaller each time, and suddenly you reach the end. But at the end, you find the beginning. You have walked in a straight line and somehow returned to the start. The infinite tunnel is a loop. Infinity is circular. You didn't go deeper, you went around. And so, your reflection at the end is not the last. It's the first again. That is the trap. What you believed was distance was only repetition. What you thought was movement was recursion. What you called depth was illusion. The logic collapses in on itself. Here's where your mind protests. This makes no sense. But it does. It's too perfect. So perfect that it begins to collapse under its own clarity. You believed in a system of order, of light and reflection, of logic and observation. But the system swallowed you whole because you never asked if the mirror needed to reflect. You assumed its function, gave it meaning. But what if it doesn't care? What if it is just still, untouched, unmoved, unaware? A mirror that reflects nothing still exists. Its silence does not break it. Its inactivity does not destroy it. Like a mind that never speaks, like a book never read, like a question never asked, they persist, they exist, but they are invisible. Now imagine you reach out your hand into the reflection. Which hand moves? Yours or the images? If both are identical, how do you tell the difference? If both respond simultaneously, how do you prove which came first? The reflection or the reality? The chicken or the egg? The observer or the observed? The trap deepens. You cannot tell where thought begins and ends. You think a thought, but what if the reflection thought it first? What if your thoughts are only responses to shadows? What if your consciousness is a mirror that only reflects reality, but never creates it? What if you never had an original idea? Only perfect echoes, trapped inside yourself. There is no exit, because every time you reach for the truth, the reflection reaches too. And so you hesitate. You stop thinking, and the mirror stops too. Because it never thought, it only followed. Only you believed it was alive. Only you imagined it as real. The mirror is not your enemy, but it is not your friend. It simply is. And maybe that's what terrifies you, because you are built to seek meaning, to find beginnings, to create stories out of silence. But the mirror doesn't care. It doesn't remember you. It never noticed you. It never saw you, because to reflect something, it doesn't need to understand it. It just needs to repeat it perfectly, without soul, without question. And that's the final anti-logic trap, that something can be flawless and still be meaningless, that a system can be perfect and still be dead, that you can chase answers forever in an infinite tunnel of reflections and find only your own face. And so you sit, you stop walking, you turn away from the mirror, and in the darkness, your own mind begins to echo, not the mirror, but you. The reflection was never outside, it was inside. And now you let go. No more logic, no more mirrors, just silence and breath and sleep. The room without a door. Imagine waking up in a white room. No windows, no doors, no corners, just white, soft, glowing, endless white. You feel the floor beneath you, but it has no texture. You sense the walls, but they never push back. There is no sound, no smell, no edge. You try to remember how you got here. Nothing. You try to scream. No echo. The room absorbs everything. Even you. You begin to walk. You pick a direction, any direction, and you move. You count steps. 1, 2, 10, 50, 100. Nothing changes. No walls appear. No resistance. No shift in the air. You could be standing still and feel the same, but you keep walking, not because you think it matters, but because not walking feels worse. Then something clicks in your mind. If you never reach a wall, how do you know you're in a room? Who told you that? Was it the whiteness, the silence, the emptiness? Is it even a room? Or is it a thought pretending to be space? You stop walking. You turn around. But what are you turning from? Nothing looks different. Everything is the same in all directions. You try sitting down, but the ground is as soft as the air. You float, and then the thought creeps in. Maybe there never was a floor. Maybe there never was a direction. Maybe movement was only a simulation, invented by your need for it. Because a mind can't handle stillness, It invents action to justify existence. But what if the space you're in is not a place at all? What if it's you? What if you are the white room? What if there is no escape because there's no outside, and no door because there's no wall? Here's the trap. Your logic says, if I'm in a space, it must have limits. If it has limits, it must have a boundary. If it has a boundary, there must be a way out. But every time you look for it, it disappears. Not because the door is hidden, but because the idea of a door is irrelevant. You don't escape a thought by walking out of it. You dissolve it. You forget it. You stop feeding it your attention. But you're human. You want answers. You want cause and effect. You want, you entered here by mistake, or you're dreaming, or this is a simulation. But none come, because none matter. The trap isn't the room. The trap is the assumption that the room is external. You keep asking, where am I? But the real question is, when am I? Because time doesn't move here. It stretches. It loops. It folds in on itself. You remember walking forward, but can't remember starting. You remember sitting, but not standing up. Moments bleed into one another, like water into fog. Your thoughts begin to overlap. You think something, then think you already thought it, and then you wonder if the second thought created the first. Welcome to cognitive recursion, the mind chasing its own tail. No inputs, no outputs, just processing itself in an infinite spiral. A program simulating a program simulating a program. And now the cracks appear, not in the room, but in your perception of it. You see shadows, but there's no light. You hear whispers, but no mouth speaks. You remember a name, but it's not yours. You reach out, and your arm doesn't stop. You feel like you've been here before. Maybe this is your mind's default state. Maybe this is the place it goes when nothing is happening. Maybe this room is the silence between thoughts, and now you're stuck in it. Here's the final twist. You ask, how do I leave? But a better question is, why do I need to? If the room is featureless, silent, eternal, why resist it? Why fear it? Why try to escape a prison that doesn't punish you? Isn't that what peace is? No demands, no sounds, no endings, only being. You realize the room has no meaning, and that's what gives it power. Because if it had meaning, you could solve it. You could analyze it, categorize it, fix it. But you can't solve a space that has no properties, no puzzles, no functions. It simply is. And the only way out is to stop asking for one. So you sit, you let go. The whiteness holds you, not gently, not harshly, just neutrally. You let your mind dissolve into it. You become space, not trapped, not free, just existing, timeless, thoughtless, weightless. And slowly, the logic that held you begins to fade. Not broken, just unnecessary. And as it slips away, so do your questions. And in their place, sleep arrives. Not like a wave, but like a quiet agreement. The room remains, but you do not. The hole that wasn't there, there's a hole in the floor, perfectly round, completely black, no depth, no shadow. Just darkness, so pure, it looks painted on. You step closer. It doesn't reflect. It doesn't distort. It doesn't even move when you tilt your head. Just stillness. You blink. It's still there. You look away, then back. Still there. The mind begins its scan. Is it a hole? Is it flat? Is it an illusion? Is it a portal? Your fingers itch to touch it, but something tells you not to. Something ancient. A fear too deep to explain. Not fear of what's in the hole, but fear that the hole is not a hole at all. You crouch beside it. Try to smell it. Nothing. Try to hear it. Nothing. You take a pebble from your pocket. Where did the pebble come from? No idea. But you drop it in. It vanishes. No sound. No bounce. No splash. Gone. You lean closer. Still nothing. Just black. A void. A cutout from reality itself. Your mind begins to panic. Not loudly, but subtly. Because logic has failed. Objects fall. They make noise. They bounce. They react. But this one didn't. It's not that something is wrong. It's that nothing happened at all. You try to reason it. Maybe it's infinitely deep. Maybe it absorbs all energy. Maybe it leads to another dimension. Maybe it deletes matter at the atomic level. And then it hits you. All those are explanations, assumptions, excuses. They don't help. They only fill the silence with noise. You stare into the hole longer, and then you ask the wrong question. What if I jump in? The question doesn't scare you. The fact that it feels normal does, because you don't want to jump, but you want to know. You want resolution. You want closure. But the hole offers none. It doesn't tempt. It doesn't beckon. It doesn't do anything. It just exists. And that's what makes it dangerous. Your logic starts twitching again. Everything that exists must serve a function, it says. But this hole doesn't. And so, your logic spirals. If it doesn't serve a function, why does it persist? If it doesn't change, how is it real? If it doesn't end, what is it? And suddenly, you realize the hole isn't in the floor. It's in your thoughts, a conceptual puncture, a flaw in your pattern-seeking system. You're not trying to escape it. You're trying to label it. Because once something has a label, it becomes safe. But this doesn't have one. And every name you give it crumbles in your hands. Darkness? No, it's darker than dark. Absence? But it's present. Void? But it has a shape. And then the deeper truth forms. Maybe this hole is not an object. Maybe it's a mirror. Maybe it's showing you the hole in your need for meaning. You've spent your life seeking answers, but now you've found something that doesn't even ask a question, and your mind can't tolerate it, because logic requires tension. This has none. Logic requires friction. This absorbs it. Logic requires pieces. This is whole, and wholly empty. So you sit beside the hole, not in fear, not in confusion, but in surrender. You watch it as if it were a campfire, except it doesn't glow. It doesn't move. It simply remains. And that's the trap. Because logic assumes things that remain must eventually explain themselves. But this one won't. Because it's not a riddle. It's not a symbol. It's not a challenge. It's the thing that stares back when logic gives up. It's the remainder after every equation is erased. It's what's left when you stop needing things to make sense. And for the first time, you stop asking. You stop thinking. You stop resisting the absence. You become the silence. You become the nothing. And in that moment, the whole is no longer strange because it isn't separate from you. It is you. Not metaphorically, literally. It was the space in your mind where noise didn't reach, the space where awareness sleeps, where need disappears, where logic can't follow. And now that you've found it, you fall into it, not downward, not physically. You fall inward. Thoughts unwind, patterns dissolve, questions slow to a whisper, and you don't need to know what the whole is, because sleep doesn't ask, it accepts, and you finally follow the room that remembers you. You enter a room you've never seen before, but something feels familiar. The chair in the corner, the creaking floorboard, the single, flickering light bulb. You know this room, not from memory, from recognition, as if the room knows you. You stand still, no wind, no sound, yet something watches, not eyes, not cameras, the room itself. You walk to the desk. There's a note. It says nothing, blank, yet you feel like it's been read by you. The logic kicks in. I've never been here. This isn't mine. I don't belong. But the deeper you think, the more wrong you feel. The air resists denial, as if the room disagrees. You look again. Another detail hits. That scratch on the wall. You remember making it. But when? Impossible to say. You check your pockets. Nothing unusual. Except one thing. A key. Heavy. Cold. Familiar. It matches the drawer. You unlock it. Inside, a photograph of this room from a different angle. But you're not in it. The room is empty, except the chair is turned toward the camera, as if it was watching. You turn to the chair. Now it's facing the desk. It moved. No sound, no transition, just changed. Your heart stutters, but logic screams, chairs don't move. The room disagrees. So does your body. It tenses in anticipation. Of what? You're not sure. You sit in the chair. The light flickers off, then on. Something's different. The photo is gone. The drawer is empty. Your pockets too. Then a whisper, not from behind, from within. The room is whispering with your thoughts. You left, it says. You promised to return. When? Why? It doesn't answer. It just remembers. And that's the trap. Your logic says rooms don't remember, places don't watch, furniture doesn't move. But this one does. Not in ways you can measure, not in ways you can disprove, just enough to break certainty. You touch the walls. They're warm, like skin or breath. You step away. The temperature drops. You whisper, "What are you?" The room doesn't reply. It waits, because it's not meant to answer. It's meant to remind. Of what? You don't know. But something inside you does. a buried agreement, a forgotten event, a promise to return. And now you're here again, or for the first time. Your mind claws for reason. Maybe I'm dreaming. Maybe I'm hallucinating. Maybe this is symbolic. But the more you explain, the more the room listens and shifts slightly as if agreeing. You realize your thoughts affect it, not metaphorically, literally. Think doubt. The bulb dims. Think certainty. It brightens. Think fear. The air thickens. And that's the deeper trap. Because if the room responds to your mind, then which one is real? Is the room a projection of your thoughts? Or are your thoughts trapped inside the room? You try to leave, but the door is gone. Not locked. Gone. Just blank wall. You sit again. Breathe. The air syncs with your breath. The floor hums softly. You close your eyes. Feel the room listening, recording, absorbing, and then forgiving. Not in words, in stillness. You open your eyes. The door is back. The drawer empty. The chair still. But the feeling remains. You were known here. You are remembered. And the room still waits. The answer that erases the question. Imagine this. A mysterious figure approaches you in a dream. They don't speak. They simply hand you a sealed envelope. No name, no markings, only a feeling. One you can't explain, but it feels final. You open it. Inside, one sentence. This is the answer you've been seeking. You feel relief, a profound, almost divine peace. Your breathing slows. Your thoughts fall silent. But then you realize something strange. You don't remember the question. You clutch the envelope, desperate to connect the dots. But no matter how hard you try, you can't recall what you were looking for. Your mind starts spinning. What was the question? Was it about life, death, love, meaning? It doesn't matter. The answer already dissolved it. And that's the trap. You begin to panic. How can an answer erase the question? Shouldn't it clarify, complete, satisfy? But this one feels like it consumed the problem entirely, leaving nothing behind. Now you're stuck. You have the answer, but no reason to care. You walk outside. Everything looks the same, but you feel disconnected, like a song missing its melody, a story with only the ending. Friends speak to you, but their words sound empty. You nod, smile, pretend, but you're drifting because you know something they don't. The answer, the final, absolute truth. But you can't explain it, not because it's complex, but because it's self-consuming, like a word that defines itself out of existence, like a light so bright it blinds itself. You try writing it down, but the ink fades. You try speaking it aloud, but the words collapse mid-sentence. Language can't hold it, memory can't store it, emotion can't carry it, because it's too complete. And here's where logic collapses, because logic needs questions, tension, gaps, mystery. Without the question, there's no movement, no direction, no story, just stillness. And that's the anti-logic trap. Because what we call truth is only meaningful if there's something unknown to measure it against. This answer, it destroys the unknown, and with it, curiosity, purpose, wonder. You become a statue with a satisfied smile, not because you understand everything, but because there's nothing left to understand. But something in you resists, a quiet rebellion, a whisper, this isn't right. Because deep down, you know, we aren't built for perfect answers. We're designed to chase, to seek, to question, not to arrive. The chase is the meaning, the friction, the paradox, the pull. So, you do the unthinkable. You reject the answer. You fold the paper, burn it, forget it, and in that moment, the question returns. Like a heartbeat after silence. It doesn't say what it is, but you feel it. Like hunger, like thirst. You don't know what you're looking for. And that's good, because now you're alive again. The question drives you forward, even if it has no shape, even if the answer waits at the end of every dream. You'll keep forgetting and remembering and questioning, because truth without mystery is a trap, and questions, not answers, are what keep us free. The wrong decision that's always right. You stand at a crossroads. Two identical paths stretch into the horizon, left or right. There's no sign, no sound, no clue. You hesitate. Flip a coin. Heads, left. You walk. 10 minutes in, you find a note nailed to a tree. Wrong choice. Go back. Your chest tightens. You turn around. Retrace your steps. Return to the fork. You choose right. 10 minutes later, another note. Still wrong. You frown. You didn't flip the coin this time. Maybe that's the problem. So you go back. Flip again. Heads. Left again. Same result. Wrong again. You try variations. Wait longer. Run instead of walk. Close your eyes. Think happy thoughts. Sad thoughts. Each time, dash dash. Wrong. And then it hits you. The notes never say what the right choice is. They only say you're wrong. But you never get punished. Never harmed. Never blocked. Just told, wrong. But you're always allowed to continue. This is the trap. A logic loop. Where feedback exists without correction. Where the system keeps you guessing, but never stops you. Your brain revolts. Wrong implies a right, but none is offered. So you assume maybe the point isn't to choose right. Maybe it's to doubt everything you choose, because every decision is instantly invalidated, no matter your logic, instinct, or randomness. And yet, you keep walking, you keep deciding, you try rebellion, sit still, choose nothing. A note appears at your feet. Doing nothing is also wrong. So you laugh, out loud, a bitter, honest laugh. Because now you see, the system was never broken. It was built this way, to trap your logic, to make you seek a goal that vanishes as you approach, to teach you a cruel equation. Choice, wrong. Action equals wrong. Inaction equals wrong. But continuation equals required. You walk forward, Not because you expect reward, but because you refuse to stop. Wrong becomes meaningless. You reclaim your steps. The notes lose power. They're just paper now. And maybe that was the real answer. Not to find the right choice, but to realize the labels don't matter. Only the motion does. You walk. No more flipping coins. No more second guessing. And for the first time, there's no note waiting.